If I could change anything, it would be like your priorities within like your priority list.
Talking shit, yo.
No.
Don't write on me.
Yeah.
Like, I know my antidepressant isn't like a happy pill. It's not supposed to like fix me completely, but it's like 2 weeks in and I'm feeling like absolute like death.
Amberlynn Reid. Who is she? And why the hell am I talking about her today? Dear friends, join me on this journey today. We're going to be looking a little into Amberlynn Reid today. Our girl Amber. So without further ado, let's get right into this. Around 2011 was when Amberlynn first started. She made a YouTube channel and made a video titled Nervous plus Awkward plus Weight Loss Vlog. In this video, she comes off as a very shy and timid girl, very sweet, just talking about her weight loss journey. The point of her YouTube was to document her weight loss journey, as she's seen many other channels do this and felt inspired by this. Unfortunately for her, her YouTube channel would take a nosedive shortly after. Her time on YouTube has been littered with controversy after controversy, drama amongst other things. And no, for anyone who does know her, it's not because she managed to gain the same amount of weight that she started out with in that time, which is around like 300 pounds. Yes, she started out as 300 pounds, or at least around 300 pounds, and now has gained that whole amount of weight up till now. So now she's around like 600. While this in and of itself is really terrible, there's a lot more to Amberlynn than meets the eye. Unfortunately for Amber, her past hasn't always been a happy one. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. There's a lot to dissect. So let's just get right into this, shall we? Amberlynn has kind of had it rough growing up. She was raised by two drug-addicted parents, and I use the term raised lightly. She grew up with two brothers, both of whom she had to take care of because her parents were never there for them. Even in one video, she recounts a time when she found her brother with a cord wrapped around his neck. He had somehow in his crib gotten a cord tied around his neck. He was purple in the face, crying, and yet her parents were nowhere in sight to help him. Essentially, Amberlynn herself had to save her brother from possibly suffocating himself. But the tragedy does not end there. At some point, it was decided that Amberlynn's parents were not fit to take care of them, her nor her siblings, and thus they were moved into foster care. And I would have loved to end this story with Amberlynn and her brothers getting adopted by a wonderful family, but unfortunately that isn't the case. One of her brothers was to be adopted. However, as the paperwork stated, she would not be allowed to see her brother again. From that point, she was separated from one of them. In her video, she recounts how heartbroken she felt. I mean, it's her younger brother, and now she's never going to be able to get into contact with him ever again. He might grow up not even knowing he had siblings to begin with. Now she's left with this hole in her heart where he used to be. And as for her and her other brother, well, there was a point in time when her parents tried to clean up their act and take them back. This was allowed, however, her parents weren't actually clean. The drug addiction almost immediately came back. Amberlynn herself falling into some really bad habits, one of them being binge eating. This is where her food habits first originate from. All of this childhood trauma. She also had a falling out with her brother. I can't remember if it was because of her parents or what, but after that point, her and her brother weren't on good terms anymore. Without caring parents or her brother now, Amberlynn eventually found a girlfriend, and with this girlfriend she would soon move in with. I think there was also something about her being with her grandma for a while, then her grandma not wanting to take her back for some reason, so she ended up just staying with this girlfriend. It's a long story, but somebody else covers it a lot better. I'll leave a link in the description. Please do check it out if you want to know the whole story. For now, I'm going to be moving on. So now we know where some things might have originated from, like her eating disorder. So let's take a look at where she is now. As I said, she's the center of many different controversies. So what issues do people actually have with Amberlynn Reid? Now, I listed down as much criticism as I possibly could, based on all the rant videos that I've watched about her, documentaries on her. I couldn't think of everything, so forgive me if I miss one or two common criticisms that most people give to her. The ones I have written down are that she makes excuses, that she lies and is manipulative, that she's constantly gaining weight and killing herself by eating junk food, that she's not changing and it's a cycle. Hell, somebody made a cycle of Amberlynn Reid, as you can see. She can't accept personal responsibility for things, for her actions. A lot of people say she's overall delusional, or that she's too negative. She focuses on the hate and not so much the positivity. She can identify haters that have left her mean comments, but can't actually identify the people who have said nice things to her. She's hypocritical, and so on and so forth. Now, I won't say if I agree or disagree with these points, but I will make some points about these points. People see Amberlynn almost like a villain. A lot of people seem to dislike her and think that she's a horrible person. But why? Is it just because of this? What kind of situations has Amberlynn been in to cause this? Well, I can name a few. Trigger warning for some transphobia. Back when she was dating one person, this person was not yet out as FTM trans, a trans man. This person now goes by Casey, so I will refer to him as Casey, and that's that. The first time I actually heard about Casey, Amberlynn had made a video talking about Casey, accusing him of not only assaulting her in the physical and sexual way, but she was overall just venting about the relationship now that it was over. Then I found out that actually Casey made a response saying that none of that is true, with proof actually. In the end, it turned out that Amber had hit Casey, and Amber also was being very transphobic by not calling Casey a he, dead naming him. Her reason for doing so? Oh, but when I was with him, he didn't go by those pronouns or that name, so I'm gonna just call him by the name I knew him by. Definitely not okay. So people definitely had a huge problem with that. She's also had several relationships. She's been distraught over many whenever they ended, but almost immediately after she finds a new girlfriend. Like, not even giving it a month, like a week, a few days later, she's just boom with somebody else. A lot of people just see that as really uncaring, as if she didn't love that person, the one who she was with before. People would call her out for it all the time because she would cry on live streams or be super distraught, but then almost immediately just find somebody else to be with, and then suddenly be like, oh yeah, I didn't love them. This happened with Becky, for example. She's also had a lot of strange post-relationship habits, such as making her exes sleep in the same bed as her after they've already broken up, just because they're still living together, and apparently she can't handle just sleeping in a bed alone. So yeah, that's kind of bizarre. Despite all of this, hear me out with this question. I wanted to just ask, does Amberlynn really deserve all of this hate? Now, I know I have notes in front of me, and this is actually the second time I'm recording this video. The first time, my mic audio was super scuffed, but also I hadn't talked to the guest that I'm going to have on the PUPCAST yet. Now, this dude has a psychology degree, and we talked for hours about psychology. I didn't even care if I was staying up late. I was so interested in knowing his opinion on this matter, and on psychology stuff in general. After talking to him, honestly, I think my notes have to change a bit, because I do think that I was wrong in some areas. Anyways, getting back into it, the question was, does Amberlynn really deserve all of this hate? My question is, what would classify Amber as undeserving of the hate? In my opinion, if her intentions are not inherently evil, then I believe she's undeserving of this hate. If her mental health problems are causing this, I believe she's, well, at least less deserving of the hate. If she has grown and changed over time, I also believe that she deserves less hate. So let's look into all of this. Are her intentions not evil? Are they bad? What kind of mental health problems does she have? And has she grown and changed over time? I'll start with the mental health aspect just because of the fact Amberlynn has claimed that she has a few mental health disorders. She has claimed to have depression, OCD, and a binge eating disorder. I also think I remember her saying that she has bipolar, which you can't have bipolar and depression at the same time, as far as I know. But it could just be that her diagnosis was changed. Sometimes diagnoses get changed, that's just how it is. A psychiatrist, just because they're a psychiatrist doesn't mean that they can't be wrong with their diagnosis. And from what I know, a lot of psychiatrists in the USA aren't exactly that great. I'm not saying that they're fantastic here either. So just keep that in mind. Just because she says she's been diagnosed with something, that doesn't mean that she's necessarily lying, even if it doesn't seem like she fits the bill. Somebody could have just misdiagnosed her. We really don't know. So don't attack her for that. Has Amberlynn Reid changed then? Anyways, moving on. I can't really tell you if her intentions are evil or not. I think that's something we're going to definitely discuss during the PUPCAST, since we're going to have an actual psychologist there. Maybe we can ask what he thinks if we show some clips. See if he also agrees that she's being manipulative. Because sometimes I see people misinterpret certain behaviors as manipulative when they might just be somebody feeling a certain way. I'll get into that a little bit more later. As for her growth and change over time, honestly, there haven't been many positive changes. If anything, Amberlynn seems a lot more bitter, a lot more passive-aggressive, and that could just be because of the amount of people that are talking about her, criticizing her, or just being mean to her. Like, I don't know if I can completely blame her for being the way she is now. I think if everybody was talking about me in a really negative way, I would change a lot as a person too. You're only human. It affects you. I want to bring up one last thing here. Something that I want people to think about. Now, this is something I'm very excited to talk about during the PUPCAST, just because I still don't really know if this thought process is correct or not. I'm basing this off of info I got from my high school psychology textbook. I think it's pretty accurate, just based on other people I know in my life who have like mental health problems. But I have two things to discuss. Jehoda's 6 characteristics of good mental health, as well as the ways to diagnose abnormal behaviors. So what are Jehoda's 6 characteristics of good mental health? Well, they go as follows. Efficient self-perception, realistic self-esteem and acceptance, voluntary control of behavior, true perception of the world, sustaining relationships and giving affection, and as well self-direction and productivity. Just asking the audience, if you know Amber, if you've seen some of her videos, do you think that she falls underneath these? Does she distribute these characteristics of good mental health? I did a little check through, and honestly, I don't see her fitting any of these. Amberlynn does not have an efficient self-perception. She goes from realizing she's doing things wrong to thinking she's not the issue and she's doing everything right. Amberlynn does not have realistic self-esteem and acceptance. She gets hurt, upset, and defensive even over one bad comment among 20 good ones. She takes everything as an attack and seems extremely insecure. Amberlynn does not have voluntary control over her behavior. She has a history of addiction in her family, and therefore is more at risk of addiction herself. She can't stop herself from eating or posting about herself online. Maybe she doesn't even care about her health and well-being at this point. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Amberlynn has now an addiction to the internet as well. She doesn't seem to be able to take a break. Sometimes she's talked about having a break and then almost immediately comes back online to make videos. Amberlynn does not have a true perception of the world. That's probably why people call her delusional. She makes a ton of statements about people and the world around her which just aren't true. I'll definitely play some of those clips where people call her delusional on stream, but you'll see what I mean at that point. Be sure to join the stream. I put what time it's happening down below in the description as well as in a pinned comment. But yeah, as I said, we're gonna have a psychology expert on this show, so you might want to tune in just to hear a little bit about that. Anyways, Amberlynn cannot sustain relationships nor properly show affection. This is seen time and time again throughout her past relationships. Oh boy. You can definitely see that in a lot of her relationships, things don't really go well. She's passive-aggressive, kind of rude a lot of the time. People even pointed out, and instead of just accepting that maybe she was a little rude to her girlfriend and apologizing, she just calls the people in her chat crazy.
Becky, is there any chance to work things out? Please don't talk for her, ALR. Just let Becky answer this. I want to say one thing. Last stream, people were praising Becky, weren't they? They were like, Becky's talking for both her and Amberlynn, and I love it. And Amberlynn is just sitting there. But then when I do it, people get mad at me. People get mad at me. I was, last stream, I didn't say much because I was too busy crying.
Trying to keep it together.
And because it was still new, and it's still new, but I've hit a point where I am completely numb right now because I'm shocked, and I am in shock. So Becky was explaining everything because, you know, she was able to hold it together a little bit better than me. But there you go. Answer the question.
What was it? I forgot.
Will you, is there any chance to work things out? And personally, I don't want you to answer that question. Just because I don't want to know the answer.
Okay. No answer.
So, if you want to answer that privately, even though it's no one's business, really, you can. But I don't want to know the answer. I don't. Because it can go one of two ways. I'll either have false hope or my heart will break even more. So it's like,
I don't want either.
There's certain things we'll answer and certain things we won't. Do you respect that I don't want to know that?
Yes.
Okay.
Amberlynn does not have a sense of self-direction, nor is she very productive. She doesn't stride forward towards any reasonable goals. Maybe she's not even sure of what her goals in future should be. If anything, I've seen clips of her seeming a little bit defensive when people ask her. I really think she has no clue what she's going to do. Maybe she just doesn't care anymore. And honestly, that's really sad to think about. To be at that point where you just no longer care about your future. I honestly hope it doesn't remain that way. So now that we looked at the 6 characteristics of good mental health, let's look at how to diagnose somebody with abnormal behavior. The first thing to look at is suffering. Does the person experience distress or discomfort?
Weird, like, feeling though, like, you know, like in my chest. I feel guilt, wanting happiness for myself. What the fuck is wrong with me?
That's the opposite of what I'm doing here.
But I feel guilt.
To feel the feeling of being this fat because I was numb to it.
The next point is maladaptiveness. Does the person engage in behaviors that make life difficult for him or her rather than being helpful? I mean, Amberlynn can't even fit in her car to drive. She literally needs somebody to help her into her car and drive her places. Dude, she can barely even walk. She can't function. So yes, this is making her life difficult. In fact, it's crippling her. The next thing is irrationality. Is the person incomprehensible or unable to communicate in a reasonable manner? Unpredictability. Does the person act in ways that are unexpected by himself or herself or by other people? Now, because of the Amberlynn Reid cycle, I honestly don't think that she's unpredictable to other people. However, she might be a surprise to herself. She might be genuinely trying to come up with goals and push through to get get to that goal, but then is surprised when she immediately fails or does something really horrible to completely botch her chances. I think she does sometimes surprise herself. Vividness and unconventionality. Does the person experience things that are different from most people? I think to some degree, yes. This one's a little bit hard to say anything about just because of the fact I can't just ask Amberlynn how she views the world and how she experiences it, how she experiences things in her life. But just based on some of her answers and how she sees the world and how people think she's delusional, I do think that she herself experiences things differently from most people. Observer discomfort. Is the person acting in a way that is difficult to watch or that makes other people embarrassed? Yeah, I'm not going to comment anymore on that one. Violation of moral or ideal standards. Does the person habitually break the accepted ethical and moral standards of the culture? I mean, as I said with the whole transphobia thing, the whole girlfriend drama, I would say to some degree, yeah. And this is why a lot of people tend to find her to be not that great of a person. So yeah, I would say that actually Amberlynn fits the majority of those. Now, why is this important? This is the big point that I wanted to make for this video. Amberlynn Reid definitely seems to have a problem that stemmed from childhood. She's had a really bad past and a bad life, and I'm not trying to excuse her actions. She definitely should be held accountable. But I think that the way people are addressing this issue is wrong. Even the psychology guy that I talked to, Mr. Jack, hey, if you're watching this, hey. He had said himself, the best way to deal with this kind of behavior is to just essentially ignore it. People are giving her too much positive reinforcement, which is causing her to continue behaving like this. And I don't mean that people should continue dissing her, zinging her, because that is actually positive reinforcement too. You're giving her attention, all of it, whether it's positive or negative, it's affecting her. I think everybody should boycott Amber. Essentially just stop watching her, stop making videos about her, don't pay her any mind. And I mean hard boycott, because I am almost positive that Amber, as soon as people would stop watching her, unsubscribe, and just stop talking about her, I am so positive that she would pull some shit just to get people to come back. People need to completely ignore it. Just don't pay attention to it. Don't give her any sort of attention. Pay her no mind. That is the only way. I know it sounds difficult. I know it sounds counterproductive. Thing is that she's not ready to recover. She distributes a lot of anti-recovery behavior. Even just her focusing on the bad comments, on the hate, using her fans as an scapegoat just to distribute more bad behavior, continue her bad habits. She's not ready. She's not ready to recover, and you cannot force her to recover. This is something she's going to have to need to want on her own, and I think she's not going to ever want it as long as she makes money on YouTube and gets attention for it. Even if she's getting a lot of negative attention, it doesn't matter. She's still getting a lot of views and a lot of people giving her money, essentially. People need to stop. If she had nobody, absolutely nobody giving her money, nobody trying to help her, being nice to her, or even being mean to her, just completely ignoring her, she wouldn't know what to do with herself. Maybe she'd try to, I don't know, do a girlfriend reveal, or try to actually lose pounds in order to get people's attention back. But no matter what she does, what happens, you have to ignore it. And I know that there's a lot of people like Young Dumb, Honeybun, and other YouTubers who make a living off of talking about her. But I urge you, if you really want her to get better, please stop. I'm fine with people talking about like Chantel, Foodie Beauty, because she's actually done a lot of horrible shit. Way worse than Amber, if I do say so myself. Things like just being plainly racist and homophobic and whatever else. I do think she has her own problems, but she's far worse. She's actually causing harm to a lot of people, CSA survivors and whatnot, blaming them for stuff. Yeah, she's a mess. But she's a topic for another day. Right now we're on Amber. My whole point is just, I think that Amber will have no choice but to change if people stop paying attention attention. This is the same thing for Nikocado Avocado. He does crazy things when he feels like people aren't paying attention to him. Stop paying attention to him no matter what. Don't care if he does something crazy. Don't care if he makes some kind of crazy mukbang or pulls some stunt, some drama stunt. It doesn't matter, just ignore him. If you actually care, just don't do that. I know it's hard to get this out to so many people, but seriously, if you can, not for my sake, but more for Amber's sake and anybody else who's like her, spread this video around. Spread the word. And also to all the ranters who have talked about her. I've heard a lot of people just being like, what's your problem? Why wouldn't you just get a job? Why wouldn't you just... Nothing's black and white. Nothing's that simple. It's like going up to somebody who, I don't know, has anorexia and being like, why don't you just eat? Like, it's not that fucking simple. You can't go to somebody who has a disorder where they're eating tons of food and gaining tons of weight and be like, just stop eating as much. Just walk. You have legs. Like, now with the amount of weight she has, it's gonna be hard to even do that. Clearly she has a problem. If we care, we should just ignore her. No more nice comments, no more mean comments. No more videos on her. I know I sound hypocritical because this is a video on her as well, but I think after this point, I'm just not going to talk about her anymore. There's just no point. I might talk about other people like Foodie Beauty because of the things that she's done to other people, but I don't think Amberlynn is at that stage yet. Everything else that I want to say about Amber, I'm going to discuss with people on the podcast. At first I thought maybe I'd make another video, but honestly, thinking about it now, no. I'm just going to talk about everything I need to during the podcast today, and that's final. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm sorry for taking so long with it. So many things have been happening recently, but now here we are, and I'm just so excited for this podcast. Say goodbye, Charles. I'm leaving now. I'm leaving. Bye.